Not too long ago, I did a video on games I thought were going to hit the top 100 soon. If you haven't watched that already, go check it out. Some of those predictions have already come true. Maybe I'll follow up on that at some point. However, this video has been kind of sitting on the back burner for a little while. It's an idea I came up with as I was perusing that top 100, trying to figure out what was gonna kind of jump in there. And I came across a few games that, if given the chance, I personally would boot off the top 100. This video is, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a series now where it really depends on community interaction. So that's my call to action right this second. Before you watch this video right now, put into the comments what 5 or less games I suppose would you personally kick out of the top 100 right this second. We'll pause for a second. All right, good. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump into the list, and my number 5 pick is Agricola. Calm down. If Agricola is your favorite game or something that even brought you into the hobby, you're in good company. I don't mind Agricola. I played it early on in my kind of worker placement exploration journey. However, there's essentially 3 of them. There's a revised edition, there's OG Agricola, and there's Caverna that if you've played, you know is Agricola with caves. It's just not fair that such a game is taking up what is essentially 3 spots, and you can argue that Caverna is a different game. Sure, I'll give you that. But 2 spots for the same exact game. Now, if I just use that logic, there'd be other things I'd kick off this list, like Dune Imperium and or Dune Uprising. I'm not doing that because that is a really awesome, elegant, beautiful design of a game. Agricola, I don't know. I think it shows its age a little bit right now. I think it's a little fiddly. I think we found better ways in terms of action selection, especially if you want a player to be able to do a lot of different things. In Agricola, there's a lot of actions. That is foreshadowing to another one on the list. If you think you know what that is, go ahead and put it in the comments right this second. But yeah, I mean, Agricola is just dated. It probably needs a retheming. You know, maybe Stardew Valley. I don't know. Oh yeah, there is a game called Stardew Valley. I had my time with it, and I'm just kind of ready to move on. I'm not interested to kind of live in that world any longer. I believe at the time of this recording, the best Agricola is 53. Caverna is just slightly above that. I think this is a game that probably settles in the next few years, definitely sub 50. I don't see it kind of climbing back up, and I definitely don't want it taking up 3 spots. Moving on, number 4. The Crew. Okay, this is original Crew that I'm kicking off the list. I'm giving you Deep Sea, even though my criticism is going to probably apply to that. And I could probably kick off both if we're honest, but I'm going to kick off the lowest on the list, the least loved. Trick taker here. I love trick taking, and if you've been following this channel, you know that that's kind of been a genre I've dove deep into recently. I've got a video, I link in the description. Go check that one out if you're at all interested in a trick taking battle royale. Episode 1 is up right this second. I don't know, this one I played a long time ago when it kind of first came out, and we just bounced off this thing so hard. It was not fun. It just wasn't. I mean, it felt like it was luck based. I mean, sure, people kind of have to understand, you know, some hand management and, you know, trying to complete a mission while keeping cards in your hand that might give you more leeway in the future. There is some strategy there, but a lot of it just kind of comes down to what's in your hand. Not being able to speak to players, I just didn't feel like there was a lot of strategy in it. It just kind of felt like the game played itself a little bit, or if you're playing with people that are completely clueless, it's just a complete waste of time altogether. I think if you want a co-op trick taker, I highly recommend Sail. If you want a slightly more interesting version of Crew, I recommend Inside Job, which is a game I covered in that last trick taking video. But Crew, I just can't recommend. I am ready to kick that one off. Number 3 is Clans of Caledonia. Well, first of all, the only reason I played this game is it was ranked as one of the top network building games. I'm kind of currently doing an exploration on network building. I guess, spoiler alert, there's not a lot of network building in this game. I'm not going to say it's a bad game. Clans of Caledonia, you are populating a map with your little meeples off of a board, trying to create resource production and manage those resources and complete goals. There's a market dynamic on actually going and purchasing some of these goods and the market going up and down. So, I mean, I guess if you like resource management, resource production, goal completion, and some light market dynamics, this might be a good game for you. The problem I have with it is you have this giant board in front of you that is needed to kind of place down your little meeples to get resources of various kinds or production of various kinds. And it really doesn't matter a whole lot. There's not like there's a ton of interaction or even competition for spaces. It always seems like I can play the thing that I need to play. There's some constraints around like where you can play certain types of resources depending on the terrain type. There's also each terrain piece has a different cost associated. So there's some like min-maxing on going to the cheapest place possible. I believe there's also some bonuses in building your resource engine next to somebody else. So it gives you incentive to get closer. And I think that right there is exactly the problem. You don't have to, and certainly you can become more efficient by doing so. But there isn't ever really feeling like there's a lot of friction out on the board, and it seems like it's the main staple of the board. I was absolutely shocked that this was made in the last decade. I was talking with somebody in the comments on another video and just made the assumption that it was super old, and they're like, no, this other game was newer. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way that Clans of Caledonia was, what was it? I think it's 2017. Let me check. Yeah, this was produced in 2017. And it has a consensus at about an 8. I would imagine and totally see this thing falling out of the top 100 in the next couple of years. It is sitting at 65, so I may be totally off on this, but I'm kicking off Clans of Caledonia whether you like it or not. All right, we're getting into the juicy ones. These are the ones that are going to get you real mad. And the number 2 that I am booting is Heat. A while ago, I made a video on Heat comparing it to Candyland. I'm going to kind of stand by that here. It was a little tongue-in-cheek. I get it. It's not quite Candyland, but I mean, really, you're just doing some simple arithmetic. You're making a couple of pretty basic decisions and then relying on luck of the draw to not spin out going around a corner. The real tension in this game are the corner speeds and you trying not to go too fast into a corner without spinning out. But it all kind of feels like the game plays itself. I think there's not very many particularly interesting decisions. The decision is kind of shifting your shifter up and down and trying to look into the future a little bit based upon the hand that you have. At this point, I think that's a really simple skill set to have in modern board games, is being able to look ahead a little bit. And that's what this asks you. I mean, it's a racing game. I think a lot of people like racing games. It's probably one of the better ones out there. My family bounced off Flamme Rouge. My family and I bounced off Flamme Rouge for the same reasons. It just felt like it played itself. There definitely, I'll get you, don't yell at me. There is some strategy in like trying to like end right behind somebody so you can draft ahead, or kind of like the risk mitigation and the heat and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, it didn't really get interesting until the last few turns, for me at least. And definitely produced runaway victories in some cases as well. It's just a game I don't want to engage with, and I am honestly kind of surprised that it has hit so well. But hey, if you love Heat, it's all right. I'm not going to take it for you. I'm not really kicking it off, but in my mind, I'm booting that thing. All right, and number 1 is pretty polarizing as well. And Uwe, I am sorry, I'm coming after you once again. It's A Feast for Odin. I think A Feast for Odin, after quite a few plays, is a pretty decent game. I made a video about hating A Feast for Odin and needing a few more plays to finally get it, and frankly having to read some forums to really understand it and not feel so beat down after every play because I was not even getting close to filling my board, let alone another island. It just didn't make sense. And that's the point here. This thing's not particularly intuitive. It frankly gives you, it is kind of like an open world worker placement game. I mean, there's a lot of different options. There's too many. Any game that needs that many different actions to make it work, it just seems like that thing, if redesigned, could be significantly more simplified. I like polyomino. I like the idea of combinations of different mechanics. I just think this wasn't a particularly elegant way to go about it. The last point I'll make on A Feast for Odin is probably one in which you're typing in right now if you are a lover of Feast for Odin, which is, but what about the Norwegians expansion? Anything that needs an expansion, another $40 expansion on top of an $80 to $100 game, depending on where you get it from, probably isn't top 100 material. There are thousands upon thousands of games. There's thousands of games coming out each and every year. There's some really incredible designs that probably deserve so much more love. And something like this that really needs an expansion to shine probably shouldn't get the credit it does, and probably shouldn't be that high on the top 100, if it were me at least. I think it has its merits. I think there's some fun to be had if that's really your thing and you really want to get into A Feast for Odin, but I'm kicking it off the list. All right, that is it. Presumably in the comments, you've already put all of the games that you want to kick out of the top 100. I really look forward to reading those. However, now, let me have it. What do you think about the 5 games that I chose? Do you love all of the different possibilities and actions of A Feast for Odin? Is Heat your ideal racing game and you feel like there is a ton of agency and interesting decisions to be made? Is Clans of Caledonia your perfect game? Do you have tons of great memories with your game group around the crew and you just absolutely can't imagine life without it? Or was Agricola the thing that brought you into the hobby and you just can't let it go? Let me know. I want to hear about it in the comments. As always, let's be civil with one another. This is just board gaming. With all that said, I really appreciate you if you've made it this far. Have yourself a great day.